Welcome back to my top 100 countdown. Today we're counting down 30 to 21. These are games I really like that I played. Of course, I haven't played them all. There's thousands. All right, starting off for today at number 30 is, a very heavy box, Waste Knights 2nd Edition. Now in this game, you're playing, of course, a Waste Knight, kind of a Mad Max, and there's a whole pile of scenarios that are happening in the game. Oh, some of the tokens are falling out. And there's some very interesting battle mechanics. The map is really nice. It's this giant hex map. I'm not going to unfold it all. But you're basically having different missions that you're going on. So there's a guide, a nice ring one too, so it sits open nicely. And basically, so there's like all the different scenarios. Tells you how long it is, how many players, if it's easy, medium, hard. Gives you backstory. It's basically a choose-your-own-adventure kind of game. And of course, there's things to keep notes. And in this book is where you have all of your encounters and stuff. And there's some really neat characters you can play with special abilities. You get gear, you get fighting everybody. Really cool, lots of nice tokens, lots of cool cards and gear, lots of nice miniatures. That's my number 30 game on my list, and that'll be Waste Knights 2nd Edition. Alright, coming in at number 29 on my list is, of course, a deck builder. One of my favorite mechanics is deck building. Alright, and that is, I just did this recently, Thunderstone Advance. Oh my god, this is heavy. I have 2 boxes like this, completely packed with cards. I've got all the expansions, and I really do like this deck building game. In the later expansions, you got an actual board, and it is basically all cards. So, I mean, there's things like Circle of Protection, spells, you've got there's diseases you can get from different monsters. You have your basic deck, which is just regular cards and some spears and things to head into the dungeon. There's randomizers for everything, which is really cool. So for hero, you have everything. This is how many heroes you have. So you can just do random heroes. You've got things like human wizards, you've got dwarf fighters, you've got human thieves, human fighters, elf wizards, on and on and on, an endless variety of stuff, different monsters that you're fighting. You can have like the undead horde. There's I think 10 cards in each one. Different difficulties. You have a level 1, level 2, level 3 monsters. You're basically, I like playing it solo. You're basically trying to fight a bunch of monsters who are coming out into the dungeon. The last one is the Thunderstone Bearer. He's the toughest guy. And you're trying to get the most victory points. And that's basically it. It's just your basic deck building game. That's my number 29 on my list. I really enjoy. That is Thunderstone Advance. Making its way to number 28 on my list. Guess what? Another deck builder. Yes, and that is, another relatively big box. Oh my goodness. That is Aeons and Legacy. I've been playing this on my channel for a couple of years now. We're getting very close to the end. Basically, it's played in a series of chapters. So you have chapter 1, you got your chapter 2, on and on and on. We're actually to the last chapter now. I play through, and spoilers! You can take your characters and level them up in all kinds of interesting ways. So I won't show you that if you want to actually play it for yourself. It's a deck builder, and it's basically, you get your basic hand of cards, and in the Legacy version, this is the last chapter. These are not really spoilers. You can see these when you open the box. And here's your blank characters, basically, that you can start with, and they have females on one side, males on the other, which is really cool. So basically it says here, unlocks a chapter, this and that. So you're basically playing Aeons and Legacy, but it's but it's a Legacy version. So you're building up your character, you're going through this huge story to eventually try and win. And it's so super fun. This is my number 28 game on my list. And that is Aeons and Legacy. Alright, making its way to number 27 on my list is yet another deck builder, of course, and that is legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Well, now in this one, it's a Legacy system. Obviously, there are scheme twists, there are big bads that you're trying to take down, and there's a darkness and light track in this one, which is cool. I'm not going to show you the map. Oh, there we go. So this is basically what it looks like when you got it set up. You got your schemes, you got your big bads, who can be, of course, first one. We have Glory, we've got Adam, a whole bunch of different ones you can play. Of course, there's Xander, Giles, Willow, etc., etc. And you can even play as the Buffy bot. How cool is that? All right, so it's just your typical deck builder game. Some cool tokens in here. Like I said, you can get these extra tokens while you're playing. It's one of my favorite legendary systems. And of course, I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well, so it's icing on the cake. That is my number 27 game on my list, and that is legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Number 26 on my list is not a deck builder, although there are cards involved and you're kind of cooking them, so we'll see what it is. Alright, my number 26 game on my list is Battlestar Galactica, the board game. A little bit of a departure from the deck builders, but this is really a very fun hidden trader game. You're basically playing through the latest series of Battlestar Galactica, not the 80s version, or was it 70s, somewhere in there, 78 to 80 something. So you can play the Admiral, you can play the President, on and on. You've got dials. You're trying to find your way to Cobalt, I believe it is, or sorry, Earth. And you only have so much fuel, and you only have so much food, and so much morale, so much population. If any one of these drops to zero, you lose the game. Yeah, it's very cool, and you're having a bunch of different colored cards that have special effects on them, and there's a whole bunch of things that come up. You've got little Cylon Raider ships and battle stars. And of course you have your characters to play. You can play Starbuck, you can play Adama, and a whole pile of cards. Somebody will be the President, some will be the Admiral. The Admiral basically decides on 2 destination cards where you're going to go. And so you never know if the Admiral is a Cylon, so he can pick a couple of these cards and decide what to do, and nobody else really knows what he's doing. It's one of the best hidden mechanic games I know of. Super fun. So either the Cylons will win or the humans will win at the end of the game. That's my number 26 game on my list, and that is Battlestar Galactica. Alright, we're in the top quarter for the 100 countdown of all the games that I really, really enjoy playing. Coming in now at number 25, that'd be A Touch of Evil. Yeah, this is a massive game. I do have all the expansions, of course, because it's just so much fun. You're going to have a hero, or heroes, 2 to 8 players, and you're going to be playing against a villain. Of course, the villain could be the Scarecrow, it could be the Banshee, it could be the Sunken Seven, it could be the Siren, it could be the Reaper, on and on and on, the Necromancer. And there is an absolute mountain of playable characters as well. So you can be playing as, you know, the Smuggler, or Leon, the foreign diplomat, or Dr. Edwards, and on and on and on. This box only has the miniatures and the cards. I have another full box that has all the cards, which there are a mountain of them. Because you go to different locations, I can't really rip open this whole thing and show you the map, unfortunately. But it's a very cool little adventure board game where you're trying to defeat the big bad. So there's kind of a little bit of a look at what the map looks like. You move around. There are different locations on the map you go to where there's a huge stack of cards. You draw a card, find out what happens, have all kinds of wild and crazy adventures. And yes, there's a ton of miniatures for the characters as well. So that's it's cool. I've done this on my channel. I should do this again. This is so much fun, this game. That's my number 25 game on my list. And that would be A Touch of Evil. Alright, number 24 on my list. Again, these are all games I really, really like. As we're counting them down, we're into the top quarter of all the games that I have that I really enjoy. 24 is Gears of War, the board game. Yes, very hard to find these days. I do have the card expansion in it as well. And yeah, you basically have map tiles that you lay down. You've got scenarios that you have to play through, and it tells you how to set up the scenario and all the different cards and things. And you have different monsters you're playing against. This all gets set up, and yeah, so I have a little box that's got all of the different miniatures and some cool dice to roll. You get ammo tokens. This is probably very glary and you can't see it. So basically the tiles kind of look like this. You have spawning points for monsters. And you orient them different ways, and yeah, it's basically a dungeon crawler. And then this is one of the characters you can play, and yes, I do have all my cards sleeved, so just ignore the rubber band. So, and this is one of the big boss monsters. Again, the miniature is super cool in this game, and there's a ton of scenarios that come in the game. The base game, and I do have the extra card expansion as well. I'm going to have to do this again on my channel. I've done it, I think, a couple of times. That's my number 24 game that I really, really like, and that is Gears of War. Alright, all the way up to number 23 on my list. Another post-apocalyptic game, which I actually enjoy the theme, and that is Zona, the Secret of Chernobyl. Now this one is really fun as well. You basically have different characters you have to play. And they've got different abilities and stuff. You've got a whole bunch of different characters you can play. I think it's a solo. You can play solo as well, which is really cool. I really appreciate that in a game. And yes, I kept these because my punch boards weren't punched properly. Different boards in here. Very, very cool. So the idea of this one is you're basically trying to make your way all the way to Chernobyl and figure out the secret of what is going on. So the map is different colored sections. You got green sections, red sections, yellow. Different varying abilities of nastiness, and then you have a fatigue counter, which plays a big part in the game. There's different monsters that can show up, howlers and wolf packs, and all kinds of anomalies that show up. And the miniatures in the game, very, very well done. Oh, I'll try to get some of them out of here. Really, really cool. And there's some dice. You sort of push your luck rolling dice to complete certain things, all kinds of cards, different missions that show up at different locations. So basically kind of like Fallout game where you've got choices to make depending on where you are and what's happening. It's just a really fun post-apocalyptic, trying to figure out what's going on board game for 1 to 6. 1 to 6 or 1 to 5, somewhere in there. That's my number 23 game on my list, and that's Zona, the Secret of Chernobyl. Alright, coming in at 22 on my list is a board game. Of course, I enjoy all these so much. But anyway, number 22 is Terraforming Mars. Oh, and it's a pretty big box. And it is really fun. So you basically have this gargantuan deck of cards. And the idea is you literally are trying to terraform Mars. You're trying to get water and plants to grow. You're trying to get the oxygen up. You're trying to get the temperature up. And there's different ways you can do that. By spending 8 plants to make a forest, by spending energy to get heat, and you have so many mega credits you're making. You've got some iron, you've got some titanium, or steel and titanium, and the whole gist is, yep, you're trying to terraform Mars, and the board itself is actually quite nice. You'll be laying tiles down, you're trying to get victory points, as many as possible. In the solo game, you're just trying to get all of the factors to the top. But in the competitive game, you're trying to get the most victory points, and do that by doing all the things I just mentioned. And yes, did I mention there's a lot of cards in this game? There are so many cards. So many different ways to earn victory points and to terraform Mars. So that is my number 22 game that I really, really enjoy. 22 on my list, yep, that would be Terraforming Mars. And last on my list today, coming in at number 21. Oh man, this is such a fun States of Siege game, and that will be Dawn of the Zeds, 2nd edition. This was the very first playthrough I did on my channel almost 10 years ago. And it's still a super fun game. Nostalgia or good game? A little of both. It is fantastic. And so you have a bunch of characters that you can play. Big Wheels Carter, Deputy Schmidt, and they have special abilities. They have movement, attack values, etc., etc. And then you have these wonderful things called Dawn of the Zeds fate cards, which do all kinds of usually horrible things to you. And then you have just your basic Dawn of the Zeds cards. And they tell you how everything activates. And you go from top to bottom. Tells you which zombies activate, what happens. And you basically mix up this deck to form. You find it trying to wait till the National Guard shows up. And then you have, yes, of course, a million little tokens, victory point games. I do have the expansion as well. Which is the, what's this called? Dawn of the Zeds Director's Cut. Haven't played it with that. Pull chits out of the bag, zombies out of the bag, on and on and on. And the map is double-sided. So you basically have, well, this is just half of the map. It's a pretty big map here. There's a basic side and a regular side. So the basic side does not have the underground, which makes things a lot harder. This is super fun. It's semi-complicated, but it is one of the best just sort of solo experiences. Or you can play cooperative, of course. You're basically playing 4 heroes. You're trying to stop the zombies from getting into the town center, which then you lose the game. Absolutely fantastic fun. That is my number 21 game on my list. And that ends up for today. And that is Dawn of the Zeds, the 2nd edition. Alright, thanks so much for watching along, everybody. That's my countdown for this time. Next time, we're going to be counting down 20 to 11. And we're getting pretty close to doing that. After another playthrough, of course. And then after that, I'll do another playthrough, and then we're going to get to my top 10 games that I really enjoyed, 2023 edition. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Next up, of course, will be another game playthrough. So thanks so much for watching along, and we'll see you then.